Welcome to a deep dive, all about self-awareness and management. We're going to go beyond just, knowing yourself. We'll really be exploring how that knowledge can help you manage, like, stress and emotions, and even your relationships more effectively. And the coolest thing is, our main source today is actually a training document, get this, for health professionals. You might be thinking,
Okay, so doctors and stuff.
right, wait, what? But trust me, these skills are like superpowers for like everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Doctors, artists, podcast hosts, we all need this stuff.
Exactly. So the document kicks off by defining some key terms. And it's actually a good reminder that, those words we just toss around all the time, like self-awareness, self-esteem, and even personality, they have pretty specific meanings that can get a little blurred sometimes.
Right, yeah, they're not always the same thing. Like self-awareness is about seeing yourself objectively, while self-esteem is more about like your sense of worth, right? And then personality is it's like your own unique style, what makes you.
I love that. That's a great way to put it. And speaking of personality, the document have this quote that really kind of stuck with me. It says, "The first and most important person you must believe in is yourself." Such a simple statement, but wow, it's really powerful.
Yeah, totally. It kind of sets the stage for everything we're about to dive into, right? If you don't believe in yourself first, it's hard to do any of the work involved in self-awareness and, managing yourself.
Absolutely. So then the document, it breaks down these key areas of self-awareness.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a checklist to get to know yourself better, your personality traits, values, habits, even your psychological needs.
Okay, interesting.
And it mentions Freud's personality structure, but, maybe we could look at something a bit more modern. Like, have you ever heard of the Enneagram?
Oh, yeah, the Enneagram.
Yeah.
It's like 9 different personality types,
Yeah.
each with its own strengths, weaknesses, and motivations.
Oh, okay. I've heard about it, but honestly, I've always been a bit intimidated by it.
Really? It's not that scary.
How does it connect to self-awareness, though?
Well, think of it as like a roadmap to, understanding your core motivations
Mhm.
and your fears. It helps you see those patterns in your behavior and understand why you react to certain situations in the way you do.
So it's like having a secret decoder ring for my personality.
Exactly.
That's amazing. I can see how that would be super helpful for navigating relationships
Yeah,
or even managing stress.
for sure. It can help you, see your strengths and use them to your advantage or understand your blind spots where you might need to grow.
That's so cool. I'm already thinking about which type I might be. What about you, listening right now? Are you picturing yourself in one of these personality types?
It's definitely worth exploring. There's tons of resources online, quizzes, descriptions of each type.
That's awesome. I'll have to check it out. Now, speaking of tools for self-discovery, this document also talks about something called the Johari window. It's a way to understand what you and others know about yourself.
Oh, yeah, the Johari window. Think of it like a window with 4 panes, and each pane represents a different area of knowledge about yourself.
Okay, I love visuals. Break it down for us. What are these 4 panes all about?
Okay, so the first one is the open area. It's stuff that both you and other people know about you, like your public persona.
Got it. So, like, I'm a podcast host. I love learning new things,
Mhm.
and I'm a little obsessed with my dog. That's all pretty open information.
Exactly. Then you've got the blind area. These are things that other people see in you that you might not be aware of yourself.
Ooh, okay. That's a little scary, but also super interesting. So maybe I interrupt people more than I realize. Or I don't know, maybe I come across as more anxious than I feel.
It's about getting a different perspective on how you're perceived, which can be really valuable for, personal growth.
Totally. Okay, so open and blind.
Yeah.
What are the other 2 panes?
Well, then there's the hidden area. This is stuff that you know about yourself, but you keep private. It could be fears, insecurities, past experiences, or even secret talents.
Makes sense. Not everything has to be out in the open. We all have our own inner world, right?
Absolutely. And then the most mysterious pain of all, the unknown. Stuff that's hidden from both you and others. It's like a psychological treasure chest waiting to be unlocked.
Oh, wow, the unknown pain. Sounds both exciting and a little bit daunting. How do we even begin to explore that part of ourselves?
Well, that's where those self-awareness strategies come in. Things like journaling, meditation, even seeking feedback from others can help uncover those hidden gems within ourselves.
I love that, the treasure chest analogy. It really reframes self-discovery as something exciting and rewarding, not just a chore. Okay, so we've laid the groundwork with some key terms and a cool framework for understanding ourselves.
Yeah, that's a great start.
Now let's dive into the practical stuff. How do we actually increase our self-awareness?
Right. How do we put this into practice?
And luckily, this document gives us some specific techniques to try.
Oh, perfect.
Because, knowing ourselves is one thing. But actively growing and evolving, that's where the real magic happens, right?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Welcome back to our deep dive. It's amazing how much we've already covered, from defining key terms to that Johari window, and even touching on the Enneagram.
I know, right? Speaking of the Enneagram, I've been doing some digging since our last chat, and it's so fascinating. Apparently, there are even specific subtypes within each type, which adds another layer to understanding ourselves.
Oh, for sure. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, the more you learn, the more there is to discover.
Totally. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and focus on the management side of self-awareness, because what's the point of all this self-discovery if we don't use it to actually improve our lives, right?
Exactly. Self-awareness is like having a detailed map of your inner landscape.
Yeah.
But self-management, that's about using that map to, navigate the terrain and reach your desired destination.
So it's like having a GPS for your life.
Exactly.
That's a great analogy.
And just like a GPS can help you avoid traffic and take the most efficient route, self-management can help you navigate challenges, make better decisions, and ultimately live a more fulfilling life.
Okay, I love that. So where do we even begin with this whole self-management thing? Our trusty training document doesn't really give us a step-by-step guide.
True.
But it does offer some valuable insights, right?
Yeah, for sure. One of the key takeaways is that self-management, it's not about willpower or forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. It's more about understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, your tendencies, and then developing strategies that work with your natural wiring, not against it.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like working smarter, not harder. So, if I know I'm a night owl, I'm not going to try to force myself to be a morning person.
Right.
I'm going to embrace my natural rhythm and structure my day accordingly.
Exactly. It's about playing to your strengths and finding ways to kind of work around those weaknesses.
I love it. So let's get specific. What are some common areas where people might struggle with self-management?
Well, stress is a big one. It's something we all experience. But how we manage that stress can make a huge difference in our well-being and our ability to, function effectively.
Yeah, totally. Some people seem to thrive under pressure, while others kind of crumble, like a stale cookie. And even the same person can react differently to stress, depending on the situation.
Right, exactly. And that's where self-awareness comes in. By understanding your specific stress triggers and how you typically respond, you can develop a personalized toolkit of coping mechanisms that work for you.
So it's not about finding some, magical one-size-fits-all solution.
No, not at all. What works for one person might not work for another. For example, if you know that exercise helps you de-stress, then make time for a run or a yoga class when you're feeling overwhelmed. But if exercise isn't your thing, maybe a hot bath or listening to calming music would be more effective.
That reminds me of something I read recently about how spending time in nature can have a really positive impact on stress levels. Have you heard about that? It's called forest bathing.
Oh, absolutely. Forest bathing it's a Japanese practice. It involves immersing yourself in the sights, sounds, and smells of a forest. Studies have shown it can lower blood pressure, reduce cortisol levels, and even boost your mood.
Wow, that's amazing. I definitely need to try that. Maybe I'll even invite you along for a forest bathing session sometime.
I'd love that. But for now, let's get back to our exploration of self-management techniques.
Okay, you're right. Back on track.
Yeah.
So we've talked about stress management. What are some other areas where self-management is crucial?
Well, emotional regulation is a big one. We all experience a range of emotions throughout the day: joy, sadness, anger, frustration, excitement. And how we manage those emotions can have a huge impact on our relationships, our work, our overall well-being.
Oh, tell me about it. Sometimes I feel like I'm on an emotional roller coaster. One minute I'm happy and productive, and the next minute I'm feeling overwhelmed and ready to crawl under my desk.
I think we can all relate to that. The key is to develop self-awareness around your emotional patterns so you can kind of anticipate those ups and downs and develop strategies to, ride the waves more skillfully.
So instead of letting my emotions control me, I can learn to control my emotions.
It's not so much about controlling your emotions as it is about understanding and managing them. The goal isn't to suppress or deny your feelings, but to learn to recognize them, process them, and express them in a healthy and constructive way.
Okay, that makes sense. So for example, if I'm feeling angry about something, Instead of lashing out at someone, I might, you know, take some time to cool down, journal about my feelings, or even go for a walk to clear my head before trying to address the situation.
Exactly. It's about creating space
Yeah.
between the stimulus and your response. And that space allows you to, make more conscious choices about how you want to react.
This all sounds great in theory, but I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical. Sometimes my emotions feel so intense and overwhelming that I can't imagine being able to just manage them.
I hear you. And you're right, it's not always easy, but the more you practice, the better you become at recognizing those patterns and developing strategies that work for you.
So it's like building a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. And just like any skill, it takes time, patience, and consistency. But the payoff is huge. When you can manage your emotions effectively, you're less likely to be hijacked by them, and you're more likely to make decisions that are aligned with your values and goals.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So we've talked about stress management, emotional regulation. What other aspects of self-management are essential?
Well, time management is a big one. In today's world, it's so easy to feel overwhelmed by all the demands on our time and attention. And if we're not careful, we can end up feeling like we're constantly running on that hamster wheel, never quite catching up.
The dreaded hamster wheel. I know that feeling all too well. Between work, family, social commitments, trying to maintain some semblance of a personal life, it's a constant juggling act. And I often feel like I'm dropping balls left and right.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. But the good news is there are strategies we can use to break free from that hamster wheel and reclaim control of our time. And again, it all starts with self-awareness.
Okay, so how do we apply self-awareness to time management?
Well, it starts with understanding how you typically spend your time. Are you spending hours scrolling through social media or getting sucked into unproductive meetings? Are you saying yes to every request that comes your way, even if it doesn't align with your priorities?
Ooh, those are some tough questions. I definitely have some work to do in that area.
Once you have a clear picture of where your time is going, you can start to make conscious choices about how you want to spend it. And that might mean saying no more often, setting boundaries, or delegating tasks to others.
It's about prioritizing what matters most and letting go of the things that don't.
Exactly. And it's not just about being productive, it's also about making time for the things that bring you joy and recharge your batteries, whether that's spending time in nature, reading a good book, or simply taking a few minutes to meditate or daydream.
That's such an important point. It's so easy to get caught up in the busyness of life that we forget to make time for ourselves. But self-care is essential for self-management.
Absolutely. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're not taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to show up for others or for your own goals.
So true. Okay, so we've talked about stress management, emotional regulation, and time management. Any other key areas of self-management we should touch on?
Well, goal setting is an important one. I mean, what's the point of all this self-awareness and self-management if we don't have a clear vision of what we want to achieve in life?
That's a great point. Without goals, it's easy to feel lost or directionless. But with goals, we have something to strive for, something to motivate us, and something to measure our progress against.
Exactly. Goals provide a sense of purpose and direction. And when we set goals that are aligned with our values and aspirations, we're more likely to feel fulfilled and satisfied.
Okay, so how do we go about setting effective goals? I know there are a lot of frameworks and methodologies out there.
One popular approach is the SMART Goals framework, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So instead of setting a vague goal like be healthier, you might set a more specific goal like run a 5K in 3 months.
Exactly. That way you have a clear target to aim for, and you can track your progress along the way. And the relevant part is important too. It's about making sure your goals align with your values and aspirations. There's no point in chasing goals that don't truly matter to you.
So it's not just about achieving success, but about achieving success on your own terms.
Precisely. And that brings us back to the importance of self-awareness. The better you understand yourself, the better equipped you are to set goals that are both meaningful and achievable.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of self-management, but we've covered a lot of ground. What about you as a listener? What are some of your key takeaways so far? What resonates most with you?
It's a lot to process, for sure. But I think the key is to start small. Pick one area of self-management that you want to focus on, whether it's stress, emotions, time, or goals, and start experimenting with different strategies to see what works best for you. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs. But the important thing is to keep learning, growing, and evolving.
That's great advice. And speaking of learning, growing, and evolving, we still have one more part of this deep dive to explore.
I know, I can't wait.
We're going to delve into that fascinating connection between self-awareness, self-management, and our relationships with others.
This is going to be epic.
See you in part 3. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into self-awareness and management. It's amazing how much we've already covered. From defining those key terms, exploring that Johari window, diving into the Enneagram, we even brainstormed some practical strategies for managing stress, emotions, and time.
It's true, we've been busy, and yet I still feel like we've only just scratched the surface of this topic. Self-awareness and management, they're really lifelong pursuits, with just endless opportunities for growth and discovery.
Absolutely. Speaking of discovery, I have a confession to make.
Ooh, confession, I'm intrigued.
Well, as I was reflecting on our last conversation about time management, I had a bit of an aha moment. I realized one of my biggest time wasters is actually something I thought was helping me relax: social media.
That's so common, we turn to social media to unwind or connect with others, but it can easily become like a black hole of distraction and procrastination.
Exactly. So I've decided to implement a new strategy. I'm going to set specific times for checking social media, and I'm going to be more mindful about my intentions when I'm scrolling. No more mindless scrolling, just to, fill the void.
I love that, bringing awareness to your habits and making conscious choices. That's what it's all about.
Okay, so now that I've shared my little self-management experiment, I'm curious. What about you listening? What's been resonating with you throughout this deep dive? What are some key takeaways or insights that have stuck with you?
It's been such a rich conversation. It's hard to choose just a few. I think for me, one of the most powerful takeaways has been realizing that self-awareness and management, they aren't just about improving our own lives, they also impact our relationships with others.
That's such a good point. It's like that saying, you can't love others until you love yourself. If we're not taking care of our own emotional, mental, and physical well-being, it's tough to show up fully and authentically in our relationships.
Exactly. When we're more self-aware, we're better able to understand and empathize with others. And when we're good at managing our own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, we're less likely to, project our own stuff onto others or react impulsively in those challenging situations.
It's like creating a more stable and supportive foundation for relationships to grow. And that benefits everyone.
Absolutely. Imagine you're in a conflict with your partner. If you can stay calm and regulate your emotions, you're way more likely to have a productive conversation, one that leads to resolution rather than escalating into a big argument.
And if you could take a step back, see the situation from their perspective, even if you don't agree, you can build empathy and understanding. Those are key for any healthy relationship.
Right. It's not about being perfect or always having the right answers. It's about showing up authentically with vulnerability and a willingness to learn and grow together.
That's so true. And that's something I'm definitely still working on. Sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in my own perspective, forget to consider the other person's point of view, but I'm trying to be more mindful about that.
And that's all we can do, right? Strive to be the best versions of ourselves while recognizing that we're all human. We're all on a journey.
Okay, so as we wrap up this incredible deep dive, I want to leave you, our listener, with one final thought, something that's really stuck with me.
I'm all ears.
It's the idea that self-awareness and management, they aren't just about fixing ourselves or becoming some, idealized version of who we think we should be.
Okay, interesting.
It's about embracing our whole selves, the good, the bad, the messy. Accepting ourselves as we are with all our flaws and imperfections, while also striving to grow and evolve in ways that feel right, that align with our values.
That's beautiful. Recognizing that we're all works in progress, that journey of self-discovery, it's never truly finished.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting. There's always more to learn, more to explore, more to experience. So let's keep diving deep, keep questioning, keep growing. And most importantly, keep believing in the power of self-awareness and management to transform our lives and our relationships.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep shining your light.
And remember, the world needs your unique brilliance.